toasting, joking too. Sipping and roasting is what we do. Light 'em up, drink 'em down. Whiskey and cigars all around. Cheers, y'all.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to this fine radio program, podcast and video extravaganza known worldwide
Hi, Mom.
as the internationally famous Smokin' and Toastin'. Welcome to the show, ladies and gentlemen. We are at show number 268, which puts us right squarely halfway to 300.
That math works out.
Yeah, that works for me. We're so glad to have you on the program today. We are going to be talking about the fight for cigar rights and the best stouts to try this winter. And I thought this would be a great week to do the something about winter stouts because this is the part where people who listen to the show from all around the world, and particularly all around the United States, are going to have zero sympathy for us, Ian.
Right.
But it's 39 degrees in Houston today, and that's where we are, and it's cold. And I know, we're not shoveling snow. We're not putting up with the ice storm that the Midwest and the Northwest
listen,
and the East are getting.
You can't say it doesn't snow in Houston. We've had at least... It's happened at least twice in the last 10 years.
Yeah, exactly. So you can't say that it never happens. I remember when I first moved back here, I lived in Boston for 7 years, and I was in Philly for 3 and Washington, D.C. for 2. Plenty of snow in all 3 of those places. And I moved back here, and the first winter I was here in Houston, it snowed. And I remember I was at home working, and I remember I looked outside and saw the snow, and I thought, I need stuff from the store. I better go now because no one here knows how to drive in this. And it's going to be like a clown car parade out there in just a matter of 30 or 40 minutes.
Yeah.
So I raced to the store and got, milk and bread and whatever else I needed and headed back home.
I was driving home from work one night after it did that, and it was snowing. And around here, since the ground is just not that cold, so the snow wouldn't stay snowy on the ground. It doesn't stick to the ground. It just melts. But on every overpass it would, and every single overpass that I went on had tire tracks that went into the rails.
Into the rails, yeah.
Every single one of them.
Yeah.
I mean, come on, people.
Yeah, it's not that hard. But here you don't get much practice.
No.
See,
no.
When I lived in Boston, I got plenty of practice.
We have 2 types of drivers when we get ice. You got the guys that are going 2 miles an hour because they're scared, and the guy that figures there's no difference between this and rain,
right.
and he's going 95.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. And it's usually those 2 that meet that mess it up for the rest of us.
That's exactly right. Trey Boring is our special guest. Welcome back to the show.
Thank you. It's
Trey,
been a while.
Trey is our smoking and toasting legal expert. That's only one of the many things that he does, and we'll be talking about that. We'll be talking about Cigars for Warriors, of course. I know you guys have got some really good things going on right now, so we'll be excited to hear about that. And as I mentioned, we'll be talking about the best stouts to try this winter. We're not trying a stout today, but I think you're going to like what we've got on tap for sampling today, Ian. From Fullbrook Ale Works in Richmond, Texas. I have not been at all. Are you familiar with them? This was new to me.
No, don't know this one.
They have the Fullbrook Mexican Lager, which I thought would give us just a little blast of summer in this sub-Arctic
try to
39 degrees.
power the summer through the winter, so to
Just gonna
speak.
do my best. I almost wore a Hawaiian shirt today, just in defiance. I really thought about it. We'll also be tasting from Dogfish Head, the brewery out of Milton, Delaware. They have a new IPA called Where the Wild Hops Are.
I love the name of it.
Which should be very interesting. And then first of all, I'm going to tell you what the beer is, and I'm going to tell you the brewery last. It's a peanut butter milk stout. The brewery's from Oceanside, California. You have to tell me if you're familiar with Belching Beaver Brewery.
Oh, yeah.
You know
Belching Beaver?
Okay, all right, good. That one made it onto today's list just because of the name of the brewery.
And I forgot to bring it with me, but I have a surprise stout to bring in. So
Oh.
I'll go get that at one of the breaks.
Okay.
It's in the car.
You have it with you.
Yeah, it's in the car.
Oh,
and you
fun
know,
times.
I didn't bother putting it in a cooler because, it's cold outside.
Yeah, exactly. I remember when I lived in Boston, I was having some friends over one evening, and I had limited refrigerator space because I only had one refrigerator, and my ex-wife, of course, objected to me filling it full of beer, which is one of the reasons she's an ex-wife. But what I did was I took the beers, and I literally just stuck them out in the snow. It was perfect.
Oh, yeah,
it was
yeah.
perfect. They stayed nice and cold.
You laugh about the whole, like, your ex was upset about filling the fridge with beer.
Yeah.
Back in the day when I was single, I was at a buddy's house, and it was right after Christmas. He goes, "Hey, come check this out," and he walks me out to his garage, and he has one of those little mini fridges, right? Mm-hmm. And he goes, "This is what I got for Christmas," and he opens it up, and his wife had packed it full. Like, it was, you couldn't fit another can of beer in there, packed full of beer for him. And I was like, "Hey, that's cool." He goes, "Oh, I thought you'd be more excited about that." I was like, "Well, I'm a bachelor. My refrigerator is the beer fridge."
Yeah. Well, just to show you the difference between my ex-wife and my current one, my wife now, Mary, actually bought me a beer fridge. It's not like full size,
awesome.
but it's not the tiny one either. It's kind of in the middle. It sits next to the bar, and we keep it as full as possible.
And then some of us go ultra pro, like Alan, who has your everyday beer fridge.
Oh, yes.
Then his wife's beer fridge. And then on top of that is the special beer fridge.
Special beer fridge.
Well, good. Then I do not feel like a degenerate. I have my food fridge.
Uh-huh.
In the house, I have one of those, not a mini, but it's not a
like
regular
a medium size. Yeah.
Medium size. It has all the ice cream I keep for the grandkids, in the freezer. Yep. Mm-hmm. And the fridge is full of beer and maybe a few other drinks, but it's the drink fridge.
Adult drink, yeah.
And then the outside is another full-size refrigerator that's the beer fridge.
Okay. Yeah, that's good. That's good. That works.
See?
Well, my beer fridge
dedication
right now,
that shows,
Yeah, my beer fridge actually needs some work right now because we had, a while back we had some people over that were into seltzer, so we stocked the bottom shelf with seltzer, and then of course they all drank margaritas that night. So I've got all this hard seltzer sitting there, and maybe every once in a while, it's funny. My wife will come home from work, and she'll go, "Oh, what are we drinking tonight?" And I'll go, "Seltzer," and she's like, "Oh, "Really?" I'll be like, "Just one," and then I'll make some martinis.
What you got to do is you got to take them out, and you got to bring them to your next party that you go to.
Right, and go, "Hey, I brought seltzers," and then leave them there.
Yes, that's right. Well, you don't leave with the beer that you bring, right? You bring the beer and whatever's left over, you leave there. So same thing works with seltzer.
Speaking of which, by the way, we went over to Adam and his wife Bree's house for game night last week, and I brought along a really nice sour in a bomber that we were going to taste, and we never did. So that's Adam's now. So you'll have to let us know, Adam,
that's
when
the
you
way
drink
it works.
that.
When you're a host,
how's that go? Yeah.
Yeah,
it's a nice bottle too. Well, I haven't tasted it. Let's hope it's nice. It looked like it was good. We got so much to talk about today. We will be talking about the exclusive cigar blends for 2022 that they've announced from the TAA convention. Smoke and Tobacco has named Undercrown the cigar of the year, and Cigar Aficionado has released actually my favorite list of theirs. It's not the top 25, which is fine. It's interesting, and there were some good cigars on that this year. But my favorite list of theirs is the one they released a couple weeks later, and it's out now. It's the best buys of 2021.
Yeah,
so it's all cigars that are like, I think, $10 or under.
Right.
So we'll be looking at that and very excited about that. And then also talking about lists, if we have time to get into this, Half Wheel has given us the consensus cigars of 2021.
Nice.
So what they do is they take all these lists and kind of combine them and see what's showing up on multiple lists, and they rank them accordingly.
Half Wheel is a clever and valuable website, I think,
They're
if you're a cigar
probably
smoker.
my favorite.
Yeah.
Cigar Aficionado has some great stuff, but probably my favorite cigar website is Half Wheel.
Yeah.
Those guys just really... And we had Charlie Minato from Half Wheel on the show.
He
in
actually
the past.
pod crashed.
Yeah, he pod crashed, which was great.
It was
awesome.
fantastic.
I remember we had Alan Denny, our buddy, on the show, and he goes, "Hey, that's Charlie Minato. I'm going to go get him and bring him on the show." I was like, "You go, Alan."
That was awesome, yes.
It was really good. Eighth Wonder, a brewery here in Houston, and Chris Shepard have teamed up for a new Houston blended bourbon. So I'm going to be able to pass that info along to you as well. And, of course, we'll have, and I don't even know if we were doing this because it's been so long since we had you on the show, Trey, but our what has become the most popular segment on Smokin' and Toastin', and it's a little something we call Drinking News.
Drinking news, drinking news. It's not time now for drinking news.
And our Drinking News teaser headline for today: what not to do in the buffet line. All right, so we'll get to that coming up, and a whole lot of other wonderful things. Trey, it is so great to have you back on the show. We love being able to tap your knowledge of what's going on in the fight for cigar rights, and we know that you're, very involved with cigar rights, and that you can kind of break it down for us. I'm hoping in non-lawyer terms where exactly we stand these days, because it's been confusing. It feels like we win a little victory, and then it's like one step forward, two steps back. It's what it's felt like from what I've been reading. So it'll be interesting to hear where you think we're at right now.
Yeah, that's probably a pretty accurate description of where everything's at, but it's still positives. I mean, we still have everybody on hold, and I think COVID was a godsend because it has FDA focused on other things.
Yeah, other and considerably more important things.
That's what I would hope. Yeah,
exactly.
Absolutely.
So, well, good. I'm anxious to hear exactly where we are, and there's so much going on, and we've got so many lists now at the beginning of the year. I know we won't get to all of them, but we'll do what we can. In the meantime, Ian, I am very curious about your smoking this week. Do you have anything interesting?
I do. I went into Casa this morning.
I love that place. We were there last week, as a matter of fact.
We were. It was a blast doing the show. We had such a good time with Jason Poehler. He's a fantastic guest, and fantastic cigars as well. I mean, my father.
Yeah, come on.
Yeah. So inadvertently this week, I actually had a cigar that was blended and made by Don Pepe Garcia, and it was San Cristobal.
Oh, it's in San Cristobal, man. That's a good line.
It's one of those that I sometimes just don't think about, and I don't know why. I looked at it. It was on the bottom shelf, and I looked down and I thought, I haven't had that before. And I reached down and grabbed it. This was a San Cristobal Revelation.
Oh, that's a good one.
Have you had this before?
I have.
Okay.
I got a Pepin sampler.
Oh, nice.
I think
nice.
At one point that had a couple of my father's and a couple of other things, and a couple of those, and I loved them.
This cigar was made at the My Father plant, at the My Father factory, and plant, tobacco. So this was the Prophet.
You'll get no argument from
me. Each size has its own name. This is the Prophet, and it's a Robusto 5x54 with an Ecuadorian Sumatra wrapper, Nicaraguan binder and filler going on in there. The appearance on this, milk chocolate in color, box press, kind of a soft box press. It wasn't like a real
bit
hard
of roundness to it.
You know that San Lotano oval that you gave me?
Yes.
It's that kind of shape where it's not a hard box press. It's not square like that Oliva Serie G that they have. That just is like the corners are sharp on that one. It's crazy.
Exactly.
It's kind of fun, but a little weird.
Yeah.
It's like have you ever had a square whiskey glass and you're trying to drink? You don't know exactly
you don't know where to put your mouth. Yeah, I totally understand this.
They look great.
I've got one of those. I think didn't you give it to me? The one that has the notch in it where you can put your cigar.
No, you gave me one of those. Someone gave you one of those, and then you gave me one of those. And I love the glass, but it was a little weird,
Yeah.
So anyway, I went in there and I was looking around, and I bought the cigar. It's got a light chocolate molten color, box pressed. It has a leathery kind of feel to the wrapper with some veins. It's a little bit oily, but it's not particularly shiny looking, so it doesn't look oily, but it feels a little oily, if that makes sense. I had two labels on it, the San Cristobal label and then the Revelation label underneath it. Pretty cigar. So forgive the picture. I didn't give you an unlit picture because I totally forgot. I just got into my cigar.
Sometimes I do that. Yeah, light up and go, oh, man.
Let's see. Medium firmness overall. The pre-light sniff on this. This is so different from what I usually go to grab in cigars because you know me. If it says Maduro, I'm probably grabbing it. I didn't. I just this cigar looked interesting. So very barnyard, fermented hay, fresh cut grass on the nose on the pre-light sniff. Pardon me, the pre-light clip, very light draw, or pre-light draw, I use a clip, very light draw on it, fresh cut grass, hay, wood, leather, and a touch of a sweet fruit kind of in the background that I noticed. The initial light, a blast of tangy leather and fresh hay, followed by strong pepper. So it didn't have a big pepper blast like you'd expect, but it had a little bit in there. With a touch of sweetness in the background. That touch of sweetness is interesting, pay attention, because it goes throughout the cigar. There's just this little bit of sweetness that kind of develops and takes on a few characteristics throughout the cigar. The retrohale was wood and pepper right off the bat. And I will tell you, the retrohale was a little bit strong on the initial light of the cigar. So
happens.
might make your nose burn if you're not used to that
The
one.
Nicaraguan tobacco sometimes, especially the medium to full and the full-bodied,
Yeah.
that can have a pretty serious retrohale.
Yeah,
to
and
it.
this was a medium plus, maybe at the very beginnings of full. I think overall, I don't know what they would call it, but that's where I'd put it in the scheme of things. The first third of this fresh flavors, I really got the feeling smoking the cigar. All the flavors felt very fresh, like fresh cut lumber, fresh cut hay, fresh cut grass. It just had this kind of freshness to it that I really, really enjoyed.
A little blast of spring for your winter
Yeah,
day,
it was
you know?
really nice. It was really nice. So here's what I put down. Fresh flavors, oaky and leathery notes lead the charge, followed by a healthy dose of pepper. Slightly fruity sweetness underlying throughout. The retrohale is sweet pepper and wood, solid ash, perfect burn. The second third of this, oaky notes turn towards cedar. It was kind of a weird, almost like you could kind of taste it doing that.
No, that's
like
cool.
It just went from an oaky dryness to a cedar and sweetness on top of the cedar. The fruity flavors became more identifiable, definitely like a citrus kind of fruity kind of thing going on, kind of. The pepper backs off and leaves room for like a little cinnamon flavor with a burst of kind of burnt caramel going on in the background. Fresh cut hay is a constant companion on the palate. Retrohale is sweet cedar and pepper. Solid ash, perfect burn. That sweet cedar and pepper retrohale was delicious. It's just added so much to the flavor of the cigar. The last third of this, sweet citrus and cedar lead the palate, closely followed by big pepper, cinnamon, and burnt caramel. That sweetness again, it had gone from being a real citrusy, fruity sweetness to now it's like a burnt caramel kind of sweetness to it, a little darker sweetness to it, really nice, or almost like a brown sugary kind of thing going on. Other flavors that I got in there: leather, classic tobacco, a little bit of tea leaf, especially on the room note, and a hint of mint showed up at the very end. Mint's a funny one. You'll get that on some cigars every once in a while. It's generally just a hint of it. It's not like a mint flavored cigar, but you'll just get a little kiss of it.
Yeah.
In the tobacco sometimes.
It's not like a Girl Scout cookie Thin Mint.
Right, not quite that far. Retrohale is sweet cedar and pepper with a touch of mint. Solid ash, perfect burn. This cigar costs $8.25. I give it a 5.5.
Nice.
Fantastic cigar. I will buy more.
You know what I love about your cigar tasting notes?
What's that?
Is that you'll go into great detail about the about the flavors and the things that you're getting on your palate, but you'll still say, kinda. You know what I mean? Like, it keeps it from being snooty, and I really like that. I really appreciate that. Well, I took a bold step for this week. Last week when we were at the Casa de Montecristo for the live show, I went into the humidor, which I love doing there. They've got such a great humidor. And I picked up one of the Montecristo Nicaraguan series 1935 anniversaries. I picked up the Toro.
Oh, yeah.
And I've been dying. In fact, one of the most difficult things was keeping it in the humidor all week while I was waiting until I had a chance to sit down and really kind of go over it so I could make some tasting notes. I was super excited about it. I remember you reviewing it in the show the week that
I'm pulling up my review right now
week that I was
I'm
sick,
curious to see what you say about
and
it.
of course, it's blended by AJ Fernandez, and let's face it,
You are the fanboy.
I got a little man crush going on here. It's for real. I won't deny it.
Cheers.
This, by the way, was Cigar Aficionado's number 2 cigar on their list of the best cigars of 2021. And having had their number 1, I'm not sure if they got it right this year, but we'll get to that. I loved the deep brown chocolate color and the beautiful box press. This was one of those pointy edges box press cigars, very severe box pressed. It was just a beautiful cigar, and I was really, really excited to get this bad boy started. So Rafael Nadal, who is the master blender for the larger cigar company that owns Montecristo, he reached out to AJ Fernandez to blend this special cigar, celebrating a special, I think it's the is it the 85th anniversary of Montecristo? They've been doing it for a long time. Anyway, it's a special anniversary for the 1935, and we know how cigar companies are about anniversaries. That's a big deal, right, in the cigar industry.
Well, that only goes to make sense considering anniversaries are a great time to smoke cigars.
Absolutely. And you know what's another great time to smoke cigars?
Right now?
Not anniversaries.
Oh.
I'm just saying. Anyway, the two guys, Rafael Nadal and AJ, I think absolutely hit it out of the park with this cigar. Like a number of AJ's blends, it's a Nicaraguan Puro, the wrapper, binder, and filler tobacco, all from Nicaragua. The pre-light was a rich, deep, loamy earth. Along with a whole bunch of chocolate. And you know what I'm talking about when you just that rich earth, like you ever like dig, like you're potting a plant or you're digging in a garden and you're shoveling up that dirt from just a little below the surface.
Like when you fall off a bicycle and you hit face first.
Kind of like that.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about.
It's a kind where as you're digging it up, you're expecting to find earthworms. It's that kind of it's that kind of loamy, just wonderful, rich earth. Got a lot of that on the pre-light, and it was just like a chocolate bomb as well, which was kind of cool. I used my trusty punch and lit her up, and wow, Nicaraguan pepper blast was on. I mean, it was very real on this cigar. Once it settled down, I'm starting to call it the NPB now, the Nicaraguan pepper blast.
The NPB.
Once the NPB settled down, the flavors of the blend really started to show through the deep, rich chocolate tones, coffee, and an underlying sort of spice that was evident from the very beginning. Really, really good. By the second, third, I was getting notes of roasted peanuts, and the chocolate aromas kind of morphed into something a little more like a malt or a good, chocolatey malted milk. You ever have that chocolate milk that you mix up that's got the malt vibe to it?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, love that. Anyway, the retrohale on this cigar was absolutely sublime. Probably the best I've experienced in a very long time. The finish left a note of sweet tobacco on the palate. Not sweet as in sugary, but sweet as in just kind of wonderfully lip-smacking, almost like a fruity sweet, but I couldn't really identify a particular fruit. It was just amazing is what it was. The burn was not razor straight on the 1935 anniversary, but it never got hot. It never developed runs or canoes, and I never touched it up. I just let it go, and it smoked beautifully. Maybe didn't look as pretty as some cigars I've smoked before that have that razor straight burn, but it gave me absolutely no problems as far as the actual smoking experience itself. I could go on and on, quite frankly, about this cigar, but I won't. I'll just say that it's probably my favorite cigar that I've smoked in the last 5 years.
That's all you have to say about it?
Seriously. I mean, that's saying a lot because I've been fortunate enough to have some really good cigars. That Oliva that Trenton gave us and then you and I were supposed to split a box of, but you gave me my half for Christmas. Remember that? Oh, those cigars, that anniversary cigar is just absolutely incredible.
I split a box with you. Well, sort of. I gave you half a box.
Right.
And then I split a box with another buddy of mine, and I'm still down to one.
Yeah, I got two in the humidor. I'm really kind of holding on to them. But honestly, to say this is the best cigar I've had in the last 5 years, I've had some really good cigars. I had some bad ones too, but I've had some really good cigars in the last 5 years. So, kind of a big deal. If you smoke one of these and you don't understand why I am such an AJ Fernandez fanboy, then I'll never be able to probably explain it to you. You'll get it or you won't, I think, So, to summarize, AJ Fernandez, genius. Montecristo, legendary brand. And this cigar, this particular Toro, unbelievable. It's a limited release, so do not wait to try this. Go out and grab them while they're in the stores. Casa de Montecristo still has
some. Still have a couple of them. I was in there today. Last week. Yeah. It's about a $16 cigar, and it's worth every penny and more. Very highly recommended. I'm going to give it a 6.5 on the price to quality for a $16 cigar. I'm not kidding you. If this had been a $19 or $20 cigar, I'd have said, I'm laughing.
It's expensive, but it's worth it.
You looked at me like I was a little crazy when I said it was a $16 cigar and gave it a 6.
Yeah.
You looked at when I did this. You were like, "It's that good."
So you gave it a 6.
Yes.
I knew you gave it a high rating. I couldn't remember exactly what it was, But yeah, 6. I almost said 7, and then it just felt like I was being just too over the top. You know what I mean? But seriously, if this cigar had cost me $20, I would not have batted an eye. I would have said that's one of the best $20 cigars I've ever smoked. So at 16, get them. And by the way, if my mic wasn't securely fastened to the stand right now, this is where I would do the mic drop.
Oh, nice.
That's how good that cigar was.
It's a great cigar.
Yeah, so wow. So good time to take a break on that high note. And the thing I'm really excited about is I actually bought 2 of them, so there's still one in the humidor.
Oh yeah, I need to pick one up. I need to pick up another one or two because they're so good. Right before we take the break, I just want to say hi to Bruce. Bruce said his back deck is his walk-in cooler.
Of course it is.
Open the door and you're out there. Hi to Abigail. She's on here watching.
We'll be right back. It's Smoking and Toasting.
So I brought that stout because I tried it on the
Welcome back. It's Smoking and Toasting, show number 268. We'll be talking today about the fight for cigar rights and the best stouts to try. By the way, the list is 24 stouts to try this winter. So we'll be able to delve in and hopefully find some gems. I have not gone over this list, so I'm not even sure yet what's on it. So looking forward to that. Our guest is Smoking and Toasting's legal expert, Trey Boring, and Trey is not only involved in cigar rights and fighting for cigar rights, but he is also a representative of what I think is one of the coolest organizations that are designed to benefit our servicemen and women, and that is, of course, Cigars for Warriors. And Trey, explain just basically, just in case someone doesn't know, what Cigars for Warriors does.
So we are the only 501c3 charity. So we're an official charity. Got all of our stuff in line. In fact, if you've ever heard of GuideStar, which is basically the Better Business Bureau online for charities, and they rank and rate charities. We are a platinum status charity for the second round. We've been every time we've registered with them, we have been platinum. 0.025% of all charities qualify for platinum.
And can I guess why I think that would be? Because the ones that don't probably have a higher amount of what's donated to them that goes to administrative costs rather than going to the cause that they are deeming to support, right?
Correct. We were founded in 2012 by a group of volunteers. Nobody in our charity takes a salary.
Right.
We have a couple of folks that get a little stipend because they actually do things that cost money and things like that. But we have nobody that takes a salary. From our chairman, Storm Bowen, to any of our other board members, none of us take a salary. It's a charity where we take all the revenue we get and we spend it on the mission of the charity. But what happens with Cigars for Warriors is we have a website, and a serviceman or woman who's stationed in a very crummy deployment area or a combat zone goes online, requests cigars. And through the donations that we collect right now, because of our friends at the FDA, manufacturers used to be the ones that gave us a vast majority of the cigars in our early days.
Right, because companies could say,
here's an overrun, here's some boxes, and Drew Estate and Miami Cigar, and I could go through the entire list of people that have been around. The Boveda folks, they have from day one sent us packs to go in
those things are genius.
Oh, I love it. I just had to get another one. I have a humidor where I have a few of those little sponges in a pouch, and I kept having to re-wet the sponges. I was like, what am I doing? I just need to go buy a Boveda, and so that's what I did.
Well, they've been a supporter for our 10 years. 2022 is our 10th anniversary. We were founded in 2012. And,
it's a good opportunity to smoke cigars.
It is.
It is, absolutely. It's a great anniversary time. But we take those requests, and since 2018, when all the deeming regulations and all these different things really kind of hit, and most of the manufacturers, a little bit before that, most of the manufacturers were like, sorry, we're not going to be able to donate because the FDA specifically said you cannot, that's a giveaway. You cannot give that away. We switched gears and we started partnering even stronger with our retailers. So you can go into your local cigar shop, and if they're a Cigars for Warriors donation center, they should have a box. And I just say, when you walk in, buy one extra stick and drop it in that box.
Yeah.
Because, that store will collect, 20, 30, 40 sticks in a month and send them to us. And that may not sound like a lot for us
But you
to
get
be
a
able
lot of stores doing that.
We got over 400 stores helping us.
everywhere. I think I told this story when you were on last time, but I ended up in Tombstone.
Correct.
And I walked into the little cigar shop there, and there's a Cigar for Warriors things. We put a few cigars in there and ended up talking to the proprietor about it.
Oh, yeah.
And they're such fans.
Oh, it's all around the country. We have, like I say, over 400 shops that partner with us. Many will do events, major events. You guys came down to my event that I always do in the fall at one point.
I was going to ask, are you doing that again? Because that was a
we
blast.
did that in November.
That was at the Smoke Ring, wasn't it?
Yeah, we did it at the Smoke Ring in Webster. And, Larry there at the Smoke Ring's done it with me every year since 2013. So we did our 8th in a row in November. We moved it back a little bit just because with COVID and you're kind of worried Harris County was kind of wigging out a little bit about some protocols, so we kind of moved it back. But somewhere in the fall, we always do that one. This year, in coming right out of COVID, because we did a drive-by one the year before in 2020, but we had the big party and everything, and everybody stayed good, social distanced, and we had a good spread out crowd. But the funny thing is we jumped right back up to where we were previous years, and we shipped almost 5,000 cigars out of that one event.
Nice.
So great.
Nice.
And you were talking about the servicemen and women that request these cigars. There's a lot of places they can be deployed where there's no cigar store they can go to.
Correct.
And they can't necessarily pack themselves a big box of cigars and take them with them when they're deployed.
Right.
So they really don't have access if it wasn't for something like Cigars for Warriors.
Absolutely. And part of our protocol with them is we send them a box that usually has 20 to 25 cigars, depending on what my, supplies are. And, those 20, 25 cigars, they're committed to sharing them with their unit. And the pictures we get, if anybody find us on social media, find us on the webpage, you'll see
Pictures are awesome.
rolling through. And it's just the mission is to give these folks a little bit of home, a little relaxation when they are stationed in places you and I don't want to be.
That's absolutely right. And they don't want to be there either, but they're doing their job for the country. And what I think is absolutely awesome is, especially if there's anyone on the planet that needs an opportunity to have that relaxing, somewhat peaceful moment where you light a cigar and sit and smoke it, it's the people who are doing that work.
Let's talk about the nitty gritty on some of that too. Some of these soldiers, where they're stationed, can be absolutely bored out of their skulls.
Oh yeah.
There's a lot of waiting and things like that going on, but you're still on duty. So having something to look forward to when you get off duty. I mean, think about it this way. On a regular day of work, you're like, oh, man, I can't wait to get home and have a beer or have a whiskey or whatever it is. And these guys are waiting for a day off so they can have a cigar. You have something there, that thing for them to look forward to. That's mentally very healthy,
Oh, yeah, well, it's the stress factor. So you got to figure with their job, they may have downtime, but they go from this high of a stress level to nothing to do. And if you've gone through something traumatic, that's where PTSD develops, right?
Right.
This is where people begin to settle in and start, because they have two choices. If they've smoked cigars, they've requested cigars from us, they can sit down with their buddies and talk about anything but what just happened.
And anything but the desert outside them. Yeah.
Or they're going to sit down and stew on it.
Right.
And think about it. And so
right.
we've had medical doctors and chaplains in the military talk about how we are the first line of defense against PTSD, because things like this, where a serviceman or woman can sit down after high stress, that's what makes them check their mental health as we go through.
It normalizes things a little bit. You're sitting down being social, those kind of things. That's fantastic.
Because you think about it, they're either bored or in danger.
Yep.
There's like nothing in between for these guys.
Oh, absolutely.
So
absolutely.
It's a there's other jobs where like maybe being an actor or something where there's a lot of standing around and waiting while they get the set up. But then when it's time to work, nobody's shooting at you. At least not
Real bullets.
For real.
Yeah, exactly.
With the exception of maybe Alec Baldwin, but beyond that, I'm sorry. Too soon? I'm sorry.
Ouch.
Okay. Let's rewind the tape and record over that. No, but seriously, it's such a great thing, and I know that a lot of times you'll go to stores to do cigar shops to do these collections, and it'll be at a time when you've got one of the manufacturers doing some sort of a special deal. I believe when we were there, I think Ian and I split a box of cigars and got like a 5-pack or a 10-pack as a bonus, which we then took and put right into the collection box, and it makes it really easy to do.
You guys have a very clever and earnest way of making it easy at those events too. It's very nice. Like you said, buy a box, get this 5-pack, and then the suggestion as well. I mean, you could keep it; it's not a problem. You can toss a couple cigars in, or you can toss the bonus pack in.
Yeah,
as it's just a bonus pack at this point anyway.
Right.
But that means a lot because then I don't know, it was like a 10 cigar bonus pack or something like that when we got it. That's a bunch of cigars in there.
It's a really
Oliva usually every couple of years they're at that event, depending on Trent's time. Can he be there right as the sales rep? But he was there this year, and I'm going to embarrass him because he's always doing great things.
By the way, please embarrass Trenton.
Wait, here's the funny part.
We love that.
But here's the funny part for me is they created. He was there with CLE Cigars because Larry usually does a couple of things. Well, what he did this year is they put together a sample pack that you could purchase, right? And the sample pack was full of really cool CLE and Oliva cigars, so the consumer got something really good. But what Trenton did is he said, "Hey, we're going to donate the freebies to CFW, and you get extra raffle tickets for what's going on." And we beat Larry's single-day store record for donations.
Cool. That's so
because,
cool.
Wow.
And Trenton will go, "It wasn't me, it was all the consumers." He's very humble when it comes to this, and I always try to brag on him, and he always tells me to stop. But that guy is one of the best reps for taking care of CFW when the time comes. A lot of great ones. I'm not, there's plenty out there. Our guys from CLE were great. They're big supporters as well. But Trent and I always like to point him out special just because he hates it. And it's always fun when you get to brag on somebody that goes, "Quit embarrassing me."
Right.
And he's one of our absolute favorites, though.
He's so much fun.
In fact, we've got we were just talking to him just this last week about lining him up for a future show, and he's like, "I don't have anything new." I was like, "I don't care.
So
Just come on the show." We've got such a good track record with him because 2 times ago when he was on, that was the day that Oliva announced that special anniversary cigar.
He got
and then the last time he brought
about
them in.
it.
Yeah,
while we were
during the show.
on the show.
Which was
Yeah,
so cool.
That was super fantastic.
Absolutely cool. Well, let's try some Mexican lager, shall we? This is Fullbrook. Ale Works is the name of the brewery. They are from Richmond, Texas, which is just a hop, skip, and a jump from downtown Houston.
You said a hop.
It's a very long hop, skip, and jump, but it's
beer. It's hop.
They're in the Houston. They're still in the Houston greater metro area, and that's interesting because I don't think we've had beer from a brewery in Richmond, have we?
I don't think so. There's one. There's one in Sugarland area, the baseball theme one. What's that one called?
I know. I can see the cans.
Yeah, everything's a baseball
those
theme.
old-timey baseball player-looking guys on the cans.
We're all knowing it. We should know it.
I should know this. So anyway, I'm sure somebody will.
Leaguer, big leaguer,
big league or leaguer. Yeah,
something like
right.
that.
Big leaguer, I think. Yeah, they make some good beers. This can is fantastic, by the way. It's got this old Western scene with the sun and the desert and the mesas in the background. And then this character up front with the giant sombrero and a hop in his hand, and he's wearing his bandoleros. It's that's pretty entertaining.
Very cool, very cool. Well, I have not tried this, so it'll be interesting, and I'm hoping this gives us
no information on this. It says,
I noticed that.
Fullbrook Mexican Lager, product of USA.
It smells like a Mexican lager.
It's at 5%, and that's what we know about this beer.
I can tell you right off the top, I like it. It's got a little saltiness to it.
It smells a little limey.
Yeah, a little salt and lime vibe to it. And that does not, I'm going to say it right now, that does not always work in a beer. Sometimes it comes off.
It tastes salty and limey.
Yeah. Sometimes it comes off tasting a little like like they added floor polish instead of lime. But this reminds me, even though it's a different beer style, reminds me of the Salty Lady, the Goza from Martin House.
It's like
got
if
that
you
kind
took
of
beer
saltiness to it.
and just put just a touch of Gatorade or something in it. It's interesting.
I like it. I think it's very drinkable and perfect for a summer day, and really perfect if you're like, grilling fajitas.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be perfect.
It has like the lime flavor in there is kind of it tastes like a cheap throw-in kind of thing, but I kind of like it because of that, if that makes sense.
It's the salt that makes it work, I think.
Is it?
The
Because
saltiness.
it's just got this obvious and here's some lime.
Well,
And it doesn't taste like
right, it's not
natural
subtle.
lime. It tastes like lime-flavored lime.
But it also doesn't taste like floor wax, like the Bud Light
No.
lime. And that's what I'm. By the way, since we're talking about Anheuser-Busch again, I was driving to a meeting yesterday, and I saw at one of the little Time-Wise convenience stores there was a beer truck parked there making its deliveries, and it had the side was painted with the can and the colors and the advertising for Hopadillo, the Carbach IPA. And I just happened to notice as I drove by that it said on the side of there, the #1 selling IPA in Texas. And I thought, that's really sad. And it's not that I don't like Hopadillo. It's a good beer. But the reason it's the #1 selling IPA in Texas is because the Budweiser guys, because they're owned by Anheuser-Busch, they go in and strong-arm these convenience stores in different places and say, well, if you're going to carry craft beer, you got to carry ours. So you probably can't go into most convenience stores and get something from, Stone or someplace else.
I have to tell you, in my neighborhood, the convenience stores do not have great choices in beer.
Yeah.
And they always have some Carbach thing.
Yeah,
and
yeah. Well,
it annoys me.
You see the Crawford Bock and you see the Love Street, and those are two pretty good beers.
I generally pick up Shiner.
I have more favorite Bocks if I'm going that direction, but Love Street is not a bad beer.
Oh, man.
But
11 Below, Goat Getter, Bach.
Yeah.
Cool. So good.
I gave you one of those last.
This is bizarre. I can't stop drinking it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. But I'm going to tell you what hit me with this, with the lime and the salt that you're talking about, is think about doing a beer battered fish taco with this.
Ooh,
Oh, I
now
bet that
you're
would be
talking.
amazing.
Now you're talking.
Because
No.
I think all of the interesting flavors we're talking about would go right into that batter. I don't. And to me, you add more lime, more pico, whatever you put on your fish tacos.
I love that you think that way because I bought a 6-pack one time of No Label's Don Jalapeno. There's a jalapeno flavored beer.
I'm not generally a fan of.
I'm not really a
jalapeno
fan of
flavored
spicy,
beers. Yeah.
like hot spicy drinks. That's just not. Right. I love hot spicy food.
See, I'm with you.
But
And
drinks,
I want
I'm not a big fan.
non-spicy drinks to watch.
And
them
I
down.
tried it and I thought, wow, that's not very good. And I love a lot of No Label stuff, but that's
yeah, they have great.
that is not very good.
Well,
and my wife looks at me, she's like, well, what are we going to do with it? And I said, we got brats.
yeah,
And it makes
excellent brats.
badass brats. Yeah.
That's so good. That's so good. By the way, I'll show that to the camera again. I just absolutely love this guy holding the hop here, the shirtless guy with the sombrero. He looks like he is totally up to no good, and I kind of like that about him. He's
That's pretty awesome.
He looks like a bandolero. All right, well, I like it. I'm going to give it a thumbs up. I think that it's interesting. It's of all of the Mexican lagers that I've tried that have the saltiness to them, this would be my favorite.
It's not really that carbonated either.
No, which is a little surprising.
And it leaves that kind of sweet lime in the back. I'm not sure that, like, if you put this on paper, I'd say, oh, hell no.
Yeah.
But drinking it, I can't kind of
but
stop
you just went
drinking.
and
Yeah, I
poured
actually
more,
went
so-
for more. So I don't know what's going on
Tells
here.
you something. All right, we're going to take a break, and we will be back smoking and toasting number 268. We've yet to talk about the fight for cigar rights, but we will get there, and we'll also get to the best stouts to try this winter. Plus, I didn't mention this, we got a rum to try today. It is Uruapan's Charanda Anejo rum from, of course, Mexico. And we will be trying some of that as the program continues. It's Smoking and Toasting. Welcome back. It is Smoking and Toasting, show number 268, halfway to 300.
Groovy.
And we are excited to be here. Trey Boring is our guest, and we're excited to have Trey on really anytime because you're just kind of fun to hang out with. Besides all the cool stuff that you do. So that's kind of a... If you get booked twice on our show, we had fun.
Yes.
Right? It's you can get booked once and we'll, let you talk about your product or whatever it is. But if you get booked a second time, yeah, we had a pretty good time with you. And so you look at somebody like Trey, who's been on multiple times, or Docs, who's going to be back on soon, by the way. These are people we had a pretty darn good time with. So, and I won't even mention Alan Denny, that dude, just...
I'm sorry, who?
Yeah, exactly. We've been told this before, but people just don't care about him. So that's just the way it is. While Ian is pouring here, I want to burn through a really quick list. This is the Cigar Aficionado list of the best buys of 2021. These are all cigars. I said $10, but it's even better than that. These are all cigars with suggested retail prices of $6 or less that scored high in the Cigar Aficionado review. So I'm just going to run through these real quick. Scoring 88 points, number 20, the Alec Bradley Project 40.
That's a good cigar.
Which is a good cigar. It's $5.99, and it's a Nicaraguan. The Punch Knuckle Buster Toro, $5.49. It's a Honduran cigar. The Macanudo Inspirado White Corona. Scored an 89. It's $5.49. And again, this is suggested retail price now because it may vary depending on how much taxes you're paying in your state or whether there's any additional markup from your cigar store. At the next place on the list, the Muat Baitfish. Muat stands for Mayuzi Weighs a Ton. It's $5.50. It's a Robusto. They say your size odd. So it's a kind of a funky looking Robusto. It scored an 89, and by the way, if you want to try that, you should get one quickly because Drew Estate has announced they are discontinuing
the Muat line.
Yep. So, La Flor Dominicana Cameroon Cabinet number 3, a $5.80 Petite Corona, scored an 89. La Aurora 1985 Maduro Churchill scored an 89, and it is a $6 cigar. Epigrillo's Interlude Carlitos, Carrillitos.
That's a great cigar.
Or Carolitos, as the gringo would say. It is a $2.65 cigar. So this is a little one. This is one of
the littlest one in that line.
Yep. And it's it scored an 89. So for a little cigar to score an 89,
wow,
that's a big deal because those little cigars, I mean, they're good, but they generally aren't as good as something that's got more tobacco in it. So the Don Diego Lonsdale at $5.74 scored a 90. Wow, I haven't seen Don Diego on one of these lists in a very, very long time. Ever. The Buenaventura Pralines P554 at $5.90. It's the Toro. That's just a great, inexpensive cigar. You talked about Buenaventura.
Great line.
Recently.
Bang for the buck. Fantastic.
Absolutely.
Another Alec Bradley Project 40. This is the Maduro. The Robusto at $5.75 scored a 90. La Aurora's 1903 Cameroon Churchill scored a 91. Gran Habano Corojo number 5 Lunch Break, which is a Petite Corona, scored a 91.
I love the name.
Nat Seco. Is it Seco or CISO? Nat
Seco.
Nat Seco Casino Real Double Toro at $5.79, a Nicaraguan cigar. It scored a 92. Charter Oaks Habano Lonsdale. I don't think I've had the Habano. At $6, scored a 92. The Buenaventura Crimas C100 is the number one cigar on this list at 93 points. I mean, when you score a 93, cigars that score 93 on Cigar Aficionado are usually things like, Padron Anniversarios and stuff like that.
Well, the Buenaventura to me is when you look at those, any of the lines they have, they are a good price per flavor, in the scale. These things go to 6s and 7s regularly, right?
Yeah.
In my palate. But there are several ones like the Project 40. I'll buy them because I call them golf course cigars, not because they're not good cigars,
right,
but because when I hit that bad shot and I throw my cigar across the golf course, I'm not throwing a $12 cigar across, and then I go, okay, I can light another one.
I can light another one, yeah, that makes sense. I know back when we first started this company and I was making literally dozens of dollars a month, I used to smoke a lot of those because they were very affordable and very good for what you were paying.
Oh, absolutely.
So our beer here is from Dogfish Head, one of my personal favorite breweries.
Where the wild hops are.
Yeah, so this is a very interesting
the
new
artwork
IPA.
on here is a little confusing. It's where the wild hops are, so you'd assume that there's
Probably a play on the children's book.
Yeah,
well,
that
yeah,
would be
of
my
course
guess.
that, but they have a little trap set up here. It's like the classic, Bugs Bunny trap with the box held up
right.
on one
Yeah,
side with a stick
with
and a
stick,
string.
yeah.
And there's a hop in the trap.
Oh, nice.
A
So
little hop bud in the
they've
trap, and it's got a
captured a hop.
bite out of it, and then a giant like big monster footprint next to it. So are they?
Well, they've
got
got those big monsters in the children's books,
Right.
right? Where the wild things
right.
are.
So I'm wondering if they're using the hop to lure the monster, but it's where the wild hops are. Is the monster a hop as well? I don't know what's going on.
Maybe they're taking a little liberty, and I'm just going to say
It's a very interesting. Hey, let me put it this way: we're talking this long about the label,
Yeah.
so they're doing
Yeah.
something right.
Well, and I'll just say this: when you brew an IPA this delicious, you can make whatever kind of a label.
this is
you
the
want.
off-centered art
This
series
is awesome.
featuring Max Mann, Mahn Man. It's really, really beautifully done.
Have you tried the beer?
I have.
And I'm really curious because, see, I'm the IPA guy. I have a tendency to like lots of different IPA styles. You are a little pickier when it comes to IPAs. And I think I see your answer right there.
So this IPA they call it the off-centered art series. The IPA itself is off-centered. This is not an incredibly well-balanced IPA. This is an IPA that has such an interesting hop character. And on the first sip is a little polarizing because it's a little bitter, a little pine cone, but that almost immediately goes away
And you get that finish.
with the sweet finish from it.
Yes,
Like
it is
I don't
sweet.
expect a sweet finish
On an IPA.
On an IPA, I expect
Yeah.
a bitter
Right.
finish.
That's what makes this
And
so
this
different.
has such a sweet finish to it. It's very bizarre. It's not it's not a malty sweet finish
Right.
either. It's almost like a citrusy sweet
But
finish
but
to
it's
it.
anything but like a hazy, fruity type of IPA.
Right.
It's a whole
No.
different finish.
Well, I'm not an IPA fan at all generally. I'm just not a hop guy, I don't. But this one drinks presentable to anybody
Yeah,
that wants
I
to
agree.
try an IPA.
You get a little, as Ian was saying, you get a little of that sort of pinecone hop right up front, but it very quickly kind of transitions to that
Yep.
sweetness. And, these guys at Dogfish Head, I mean, they really are amazingly creative. I think when I think of companies that can make IPA styles that might be a little more polarizing in general and still make them acceptable to
Dogfish Head.
Yeah, I think Dogfish Head, I think Stone, and I think there's several others. Quite frankly, St. Arnold is good at that. And this is just delicious. I mean, we talked about Hopadillo before. Hopadillo is a good IPA if you like something just super over the top, kind of hoppy, that's very much an in your face. Probably not the kind of IPA
Right.
that you would drink, right? But this just seems so creatively crafted, like a gateway IPA.
Yeah.
So you mentioned Hopadillo. I'm just going to harp on this for just a moment.
Okay.
Hopadillo is a good IPA if you're the kind of guy who likes pie and wants to stick their face in a pie. That's the kind of IPA it is to a person who likes IPAs.
That is not where I thought you were going with that, and I want to just thank you for keeping it, above the waist, shall we say?
No, it's an okay beer. It's and it's an okay IPA, but it's not amazing, and it's
Yeah.
the number one selling because they push it to every single bar.
Yeah, absolutely. And
This
it
is an incredibly interesting IPA.
It sure is.
This is something where I take a drink of it and I want to taste another one because it's just so darn
right, it's
interesting.
like, what is that about? Let's have more. Well,
And it's citrusy too. It's not a citrus IPA. It's not like your St. Arnold the citrus one,
the Sabrico nut or the hazy juicy.
Yeah,
the
this
juicy,
is not that. This is incredibly interesting.
Yeah. Different from any other IPA.
And very
I've ever
little
had.
carbonation going on too.
Which I appreciate, by the way. That to me, that is as a guy that really loves IPAs of all kinds, the number one way you can mess up an IPA, in my opinion, is to overcarbonate it.
Yeah.
You do need some, but when it fizzes on your tongue, it's not allowing you to get that hop or whatever citrusy flavors you've got in there. It's kind of masking them, in my opinion.
Yeah, and it's
it
going
makes
to bitter
it not
them a
as
little
much
bit, I
fun.
think.
Yeah, it makes it not as much fun.
It's incredibly interesting.
Yeah.
I don't
Love
know
me some
exactly how to
Dogfish egg.
categorize it.
The little store downstairs in my building regularly has the 60-minute IPA. They've got a great beer selection.
Yeah.
Considering that it's a fairly small space, right? So they don't have the 90 or the 120, but they do carry the 60 regularly, and I'm kind of surprised at how often that's what I wind up picking up. 'Cause it's just a very good, flavor-forward, hoppy IPA.
Yeah, I've said it
and
many
balanced.
times before. Dogfish had nailed it so well with the 90-minute.
Yeah.
But it's a lot of IPA.
Yeah. Oh,
like
yeah.
that's
Well,
a lot
it's
of people
like
are like,
Stone.
that's too much IPA.
Yeah, it's like Stone. I mean, it's wonderfully balanced, but it is not my first IPA.
And everyone's a little surprised that I generally don't buy IPAs, but the 90-minute or something like Stone's IPAs, like those are ones that I would gravitate towards. But I like, if you're going to have an IPA that's that hoppy, you got to have more stuff in there, more malt, more everything else to back it up.
And that's what they do.
You can't just make it a hop slap in the face and expect me to like it. I'm not going to.
Absolutely. All right, we got to take a break. When we come back, we're going to talk about Imperial, well, not just Imperial Stouts, but Stouts. 24 Stouts for you to try this winter. Plus, I want Trey to bring us
24 Stouts on my dresser. Oh, sorry. Did I just do that?
I got 99 Stouts and Hopadillo ate one. Hopadillo's not a stout. That didn't work. Isn't it funny? I couldn't think of a stout that I didn't really like to complete that attempt at a joke. So I apologize for its lameness. All right, we'll take a break. We'll be right back. We got to talk about where we are right now with the battle for cigar rights, and Trey Boring will fill us in next.
All right. Let me run out to my car and grab that stout real quick.
Woo! Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. It is Smokin' and Toastin', show number 268. We are all about craft beer, fine spirits, and hand-rolled cigars. We'll get to maybe a craft beer and a fine spirit in this segment if we can make all of that happen. Ian brought an unscheduled beer, which of course is like the greatest idea ever, and he's going to pour a little of it for us while we go through this stout list, because it is in fact a stout. So tell us what you're pouring there, Ian.
So this is Brazos Valley Brewing.
That's a good brewery too.
Company, and it's Slipping into Darkness.
Oh,
This is a Russian Imperial Stout. It
They've
says
done a series of stouts.
coffee, cocoa nibs, and hazelnut.
Okay, well, nothing about that sounds bad.
Yeah, doesn't sound terrible, does
All
it?
right. So while you're doing that, and we'll sip a little bit on this and talk about it, let me start running down this list, because there's 24 stouts on this list, and they are, I believe, alphabetical by brewery.
24 stouts on my dresser.
Here we go. Against the Grain, Amburana Wood, 70K. Against the Grain is out of Louisville, Kentucky, and this particular stout starts off the list at 13% ABV. Thank you. Good night.
Chances are I
that's our
like
show. We'll see you next week. The next one on the list is Alchemist. They have a stout called Beelzebub. It's an 8% Alchemist out of Stowe, Vermont, and of course a very well-known brewery for their IPAs, but their stout makes this list as well. Ale Song's Rhino Suit Stout at 12.2. I'm guessing that is an Imperial. And Marvel fans, they say, may be familiar with the supervillain the Rhino, who first appeared in Amazing Spider-Man issue number 41. And by the way, I did not know that from memory. It was written down on this article. Just so, I am a geek, but hey. Anyway, it's hard to tell if Rhino Suit is a tribute to that or not, but it's apparently a very good IPA. This list, by the way, comes from Thrillist, and they really do have good lists. These are not like, kind of bogus lists that people buy their way
they're
onto.
pretty fun. They're pretty fun overall.
Anchorage Brewing's Darkest Hour, a
Yes,
13%
I've had that.
ABV out of Anchorage, Alaska, of course. I love this next title from Mesa, Arizona. The Beer Research Institute is the name of the brewery, and the stout is called Morning Sex.
Nice.
Good stout.
You gotta try it.
I would buy that sight
Yeah,
unseen.
yeah, absolutely.
I mean, I bought
You would
Slipping
be-
in the
you'd be
Darkness
amazed.
without ever having it.
Right.
No,
Exactly.
you'd be amazed. I do a lot of work in Phoenix for my day job. You know, cigars are the fun part. I actually have to work for a living.
Right.
And that brewery is very interesting because you're like, well, lab coats, what am I going to run into?
Right. That's the Beer
stout,
Research Institute.
That stout is
So
phenomenal.
you've had this.
I've had that one.
Trey Boring has had
Nice.
morning sex, ladies and gentlemen.
Nice.
It's good to know. Yeah.
Ever since my divorce, I have, yeah.
That can often help. From Missoula, Montana. I think isn't that close to where Yellowstone is filmed? Big Sky's Ivan the Terrible, a 9.5% ABV stout. Epic
Yeah.
Brewings, and Ian, we had this one on the show. I was hoping we'd know one of these. Epic Brewing's Big Bad Baptist.
Yes, that
makes the
was a
list.
big bad
You and I
beer.
almost had a religious conversion
Yeah,
experience
that was
when we
pretty
tasted that.
amazing.
It was just absolutely over the top. Epic is out of Denver, Colorado. That's an 11.8% ABV. From 50/50 Brewing, their 2019 Basil Hayden is 11% ABV, and this is part of an ongoing series of stouts. And it's barrel aged, obviously. That's where the Basil Hayden comes from, and makes the list. Fort George Matryoshka. They're from Astoria, Oregon. I'm not familiar with Fort George.
I don't know
Are you? 12% ABV. They make it. Grand Teton's Black Cauldron. Ooh, that's a great name for a stout, isn't it? That makes the list. Great Notion's Double Stack out of Portland, Oregon. We've had some Great Notion beers on the show, but I don't think we've had
that,
Double
no.
Stack. Yeah. Grim and American Solera Baltic Porter at 8%. They're out of Brooklyn, New York. And Half Acres Original Reaper out of Chicago, Illinois, makes the list as well. Four Hands Absent of Light. Four Hands is out of St. Louis, Missouri.
Yep.
Absence of Light. I know we've had Four Hands beers, but I don't think
we've had that,
we had
no.
that one. Yeah. Holy Mountains Midnight Still. Another great
That's,
name.
yeah, that sounds
Another
awesome.
great name. I want to try that. They're out of Seattle. That's 13%. Joseph James Bourbon Barrel Aged Imperial Stout out of Henderson, Nevada at 10.5. And I just have to
Have you tried this?
stop and ask you what you think about this, because I snuck a sip a few moments ago.
Well, I'm going to tell you, this is my second can of this that I've started with,
Oh, okay.
and I brought this on specifically because it's that damn good.
It's like a German chocolate cake stout. Was my first.
It's a chocolate.
impression.
So it says on here chocolate, coffee, cocoa nibs, and hazelnut Russian Imperial Stout. So you have the bitter coffee finish that you expect
But
from a
along with that
Russian Imperial
chocolate,
Stout.
though.
But then you have this chocolate up front, and the hazelnut kind of smooths everything out in the middle. This is absolutely phenomenal.
It really
I
is
think this is
delicious.
one of the best stouts that I know of right now.
Brazos Valley Brewing. And
Yeah,
where are they
it's
out
that
of?
kind of good.
Brenham.
Brenham.
So yeah, it says let's see. This says there's one in Austin, one in College Station, and one in Houston. It says Texas made Brenham brewed.
Okay.
So maybe
There
they
you
just have some tap rooms
like
in those different areas.
distribution points and tap rooms. So,
Right.
completing the list here.
Oh no, I get
Oh.
what they're saying. They're saying that's how far it is from these different areas.
I've seen
now
that
it
on their
makes sense.
cans. Right, they show where they're kind of equidistant.
Not
from
that there's three of
Houston,
them.
College Station, and
Right.
Austin. Right, and we all who live in Texas, of course, know Brenham
Sorry for being
as the home of
confusing.
Bluebell ice cream.
It
So,
says
more
good time and
stuff.
beer. I feel like this is a repurposed can because I think the good time and beer thing I think is what they put on the mama's little pills.
Oh
Isn't that one of
yeah, I
theirs?
think you're right. Yeah, I think that's right.
And it's a stick-on
Well,
label, but that's
hey,
okay. I got no problems with
Hey,
that.
repurpose those cans. It's all right with us. It's all right with us.
This is outstanding.
Cane Brewing's A Night to End All Dawns, another great name for a dark stout. At 12.2, they're out of Ocean Township, New Jersey. From Stillwater, Minnesota, Lift Bridge Silhouette. Very interesting. And Long Live Beer Works, It's
easy for you to say.
Let me spell it. Nanaimo. Nanaimo Bites. 14%. They're out of Providence, Rhode Island. And listen, I've spent some time in Providence, and I'm not surprised they tried to give us a word that was very difficult to pronounce, because that's just a very, very interesting city. I was having dinner once. We had this business sort of party, get-together, cocktail hour, and then dinner at this restaurant down in the area of Providence that was once kind of the mob-heavy district. And I say once with quotes around it because I think it kind of still is. Anyway, I'm walking around holding a drink, and I look down. It's one of those rooms with with floor-to-ceiling windows. I look down at about knee level on the glass, and there's a bullet hole in the glass.
Nice.
And so I brought one of the waiters over and pointed it down and said, "How long has that been there?" And he goes, "About 2 years."
Not recent.
Yeah, not recent. Exactly.
So that's either better or worse, because
Yeah.
it could be like, well, if they do an average of so many per year.
Yeah. Well,
I don't know.
my point was that, it wasn't from a long, long time ago, From Freeport, Maine, Maine's Fall Coffee Stout. It is a 16.9, the signature 16.9 ounce bottles thrive on simplicity, they say, but they consistently take the more complex approach on the actual liquid from Maine Brewing. Mast Landing Gunner's Daughter at 5.5% out of Westbrook, Maine. From St. Louis, Perennial Artisan Ales, Abraxas.
We've had that.
We
had
sure
that
have.
on the show,
And it was
yeah.
quite good, as I recall. It's been a while, but that was quite good.
That spawned a whole Santana conversation, too.
Yeah, yes, it did. I remember that. And that's one of the quintessential Santana albums. Are you
amazing.
kidding me? Oh, it's great. At 14.8 ABV, Revolution Brewing's Death's Tar. And death is spelled DETH''S. Death's Tar, so you get the Death Star that they're going for there.
Without having to pay royalties.
Without, exactly.
Right.
That's right. George Lucas can't say a thing about it. Side Project Beers, Barrel, Time. Actually, Side Project is the brewery. The beer is called Beer, Barrel, Time. Beer, Barrel, Time.
Nice.
That's
I like
way
the
it
name. I think we've had Side Project
I think
on
we
here
have, but we
before.
haven't had that one, but we have had Side
Right.
Project. They are out of St. Louis as well. Southern Brewing out of Athens, Georgia. Their Double Barrel Night Night. That's another good name. Sweetwater. Now, I think of Sweetwater as like lagers and IPAs.
The one with the fish on
Yeah,
it.
the one with the fish on it. I don't think I've ever had a dark
I've
beer
never
from
seen
those
anything
guys.
dark from them.
Well, they have an almond milk stout that made the list at 5.4 ABV. They say not every stout has to emulate the thickness of molasses or use lactose or rival the potency of whiskey shots. And then they go on to say really good things about the Sweetwater almond milk stout. And I love the fact that their brewmaster, his name is Nick Knock. That's really his name.
That's amazing.
Nick Knock. Yeah, you got to love that. Treehouse, double shot. Treehouse out of Charlton, Massachusetts. We've had Treehouse beers on the show before. I don't think we've had the stout. Weldworks. We've had some Weldworks beers. This is the Medianoche Reserve at 13.5% ABV. They are out of Greeley, Colorado. Westbrook Brewery out of Mount Pleasant, South Carolina. Their stout is called Mexican Cake. That
I
sounds
feel like
delicious.
we've
I
had
think
that.
We have had
Yes,
that. Yeah.
I feel like we've had that
I believe
before.
we have had that. Wild East Turbines in Duos. Wild East is the brewery. Turbines and Duos is the name of the stout at 10%. They're out of Brooklyn. Memphis, Tennessee's Wiseacre Brewery. This is maybe the greatest name so far. Gotta get up to get down.
Gotta get up
That's
to get
good.
down.
That's good. And that's the list. That's all 24 from Thrillist. They have some great lists on there. And, of course, if you're not visiting liquor.com, that's a great place to go for.
Yeah,
awesome
liquor.com
lists
has,
as well.
and
So-
they're great for recipes if you're looking for mixed drinks and stuff too.
and we are sipping into darkness
How do
here.
you like sipping in
I
the darkness?
love it. I absolutely love it. It does an exceptional job. There are plenty of stouts that balance the coffee and the chocolate. This one may balance them better than most.
Yeah.
This is just an outstanding stout. Like I couldn't believe it. I bought it just because it said "slipping in the darkness,"
What's
and
the
I liked
ABV?
it.
Does
10.
it say what? 10? Wow. It does not.
10
doesn't hit you like a
10.5.
10. Yeah.
That's dangerous
Yes,
because it
it
doesn't
is.
drink like a 10.5.
Right. It drinks more like a 5 or a 6.
Right.
Yeah.
You drink about 4 of these because you go, yeah, these are going down really easy. And then you get up to go to the restroom and you face plant in the dirt. And then we can talk
We
about
talked
the
about
flavors
that.
in the cigar.
When Trey
turning
comes
it
on the
all
show,
around,
he
right?
pays attention. That's what
I see how he tied that whole thing back together.
See what you're doing
Full
there.
circle.
But you're absolutely right. If you have, and it's a wonderful stout, if you have a Buried Hatchet stout from Southern Star,
Fantastic
you know
stout.
you have had a big beer.
Yes.
I mean, it announces itself, and that's why they sell it just in the 4-packs. But and it's a great and wonderful beer, but it doesn't sneak up on you. It lets you know right away what you're dealing with.
Yeah.
This, I think, could sneak up on you.
Yeah. This is so sweet, like in the best possible way. Sweet and bitter chocolate.
Yeah.
It's just, and coffee. It just, I don't know what to say. It almost has me speechless.
Too many stouts I don't like when they just go over.
Right, when
Over
they just
pour,
kinda
on the
overdo it,
chocolates
Over
or
bitter,
the peanut
over
butters or
chocolate,
the this
over-
or the
yeah.
that.
Yeah.
I'm going to tell you, this one, as you mentioned, is, for my palate, perfectly balanced.
Yeah,
Love
that's
it.
fantastic.
Absolutely love it. Ian, I'm going to hand you this, and maybe you can pour us some of this Anejo rum.
Once again, thank you for making sure that you cleared the plastic off the top of this bottle
Right.
and cleared the neck a little bit, so we don't have to worry about getting any plastic cuts when I open it.
It's very
or
important not to
spillage.
spill when you're pouring on the
Yes.
show. You know, we've had some spills on the show, but I do my part to try to keep them from happening.
Well, that's why guests are not allowed to pour,
That's exactly right. Who was
especially
it?
this guest.
Was it Docs? Who was it that poured like stuff all over the counter? I don't think it was Docs. He's at home right now going, "That wasn't me."
We're gonna blame it on Docs anyway. That's gonna be our new doctrine. Is we just blame everything
Blame
on
it
Docs.
on Docs. I love it. So while he's pouring that, Trey, I want to ask you, in this ongoing fight for our rights as cigar smokers and against this bill that would take so many of those away, its proposals would have a really chilling effect on the cigar retail business, especially the smaller stores, the mom and pops. Where do we stand? Are you optimistic or pessimistic where things are right now?
I'm very optimistic at this point, just because we had so many great victories. Even
Right.
though it feels like one step forward, 2 steps back, which I think it is, because you're actually battling the federal government with a consumer group that is not like the National Rifle Association. There are not as many cigar smokers in this country as there are gun owners, right?
Right. So it doesn't
it's
have
a
that kind of
constituency,
clout.
right? There's
Right.
not the clout that we have with bigger things. Like go to mess with Medicare, and you have every senior and AARP.
Sure.
We're
Right,
a
mess with
smaller.
guns, you've got the gun lobby. It's a big deal.
It's a big
right.
deal. For us, we just don't have that power. And we've done a tremendous job with the efforts of all of the associations, from CRA to PCA to TAA to all these other groups that are
To Rocky Patel.
that are arguing and putting money into the lawsuit, which was probably the best thing to do at that moment. And then, as I mentioned, sort of tongue in cheek, we've had the blessing of COVID for this scenario. It's a horrible thing, and I'm not making
Right.
light of it.
But it has slowed
But there's
down
a
trains
silver
down.
slowed
lining.
Yeah, they've slowed down. FDA has their aggressive pursuit of different things, including tobacco. But we are not forgotten, and these things are going to come back around. It's the element is they've been with some of these losses they've had in relation to the lawsuit and things of that nature. They're back at the drawing board. Okay, is how do we put these deeming regulations back into effect? There's a few that have been mentioned by the courts that you can't really do that. That's going to be burdensome, and so they're going to go back. And when they have free time, using the finger air quotes here, right? When they have free time, they're going to go back at the FDA, and they're going to come back at us with something else, and the battle is going to start all over again.
Do you expect that to be maybe less onerous than what was proposed before?
I'm a pessimist by nature.
Well, then you said you're optimistic, though. So
Yeah,
that means
I think when they come, I'm optimistic of where we stand today. When they come back, I think they're going to try some more things, which is going to then put the burden back on the industry to go back and fight those things, right? Cigar Rights of America is really the only place that a consumer can contribute to that cause.
right.
And so, I tell everybody, we're not the NRA, and you know what? If you sign up because you get 2 cool cigars that Rocky put together, or Tatuaje put together for you, you're kind of missing the point, right?
Right.
The whole idea here is to join so that your name's on the list, because we don't have 1 million people on the list, because the cigar smoking community is, smaller than the gun community. And, we're trying to get to reasonable numbers that help us from a consumer process, but it's also the only place you and I can contribute.
Now, let me ask you, when I contribute to CRA, Cigar Rights of America, what do you guys do with the money? Let's say I give you $50. Where does it go?
So it goes into the general fund, but a lot of the general fund is being spent on the legal fees and trying to keep the lawsuit going, or on lobbying. Like right now, there is a huge effort from CRA and PCA and all these other organizations to lobby the new administration. Because, we just had an administration change in 2021.
And every administration is going to come at this a little different.
The new FDA person's going to drop in. And, it's not a personal comment on Biden. Love him, hate him, I don't care. But Joe Biden was one of Ted Kennedy's cronies. And Ted Kennedy is the one that got us the tobacco bill that put all tobacco products under the FDA.
Right.
So, again, put the pessimistic hat back on. I'm concerned about how his FDA is going to look at this over the next 3 years now. We're a year in, but, over the next 3 years, how are they going to look at it?
Right.
But it's, there's nothing hardcore definitive. We take our victories, be happy with our victories, and be resolute in your commitment to fight.
Now, I just want to mention something here. You might think, okay, well, I could give like $50 or $100 to CRA, but that might come out of my cigar buying budget. Let me explain to you what happens to the cigars you're going to buy if CRA and the other organizations are not successful in either battling back or at least diluting
it's
this
called
legislation.
New York.
Yeah, it's called New York. It's where it's so expensive to buy cigars that your cigar dollar is not going to go very far at all. When they start doing things like every premium cigar has to cost at least this much.
Was it $8? I think
something like
was
that.
the beginning for every premium cigar starts at $8. That means it doesn't matter if it's that little $4 Buena Ventura.
Yeah,
or
it means every cigar on that list we went over today
is now over
would go
$8.
up to $8 or more.
Well, if they wanted the protection as a premium cigar, which is less burdensome, finger air quotes again,
right,
less burdensome than the swishers. Everything under the $8 mark is considered in the same bucket as a machine rolled cigar, which is insane.
Yeah, right. That should be $3
or less.
Or less.
Yeah, I mean, you got to think about it. On that list you read today, there was the real small one. I call them truck cigars because if I've got a short drive, I smoke in my car. So
don't come in a tin. Like you've seen those. Yeah.
I mean, that's still, for those that are on that list,
the
still
petites
premiums.
and those kind of things.
Petites. Yeah, those are still, premium cigars in my opinion. They're hand rolled.
All right. So what do we do if we want to get involved?
So Cigar Rights of America, you can locate them on all the social media and on the website. You look them up in the Google search and it'll pop it up. But Cigar Rights of America is the place for you as a consumer to join the fight. Get a membership because the rolls matter.
How many people you have enrolled in
matters.
The movement.
Yeah, and so, or if you're an individual that has the financial wherewithal, buy a life member because then your name never leaves. That's what I do. And then every time I see CRA at an event or every time I have some extra money, I'm sending money in anyway because you just want to keep that organization funded because their money goes alongside the manufacturer's money, that goes alongside the trade association's money, the PCAs of the world and the TAAs. And so everybody is together fighting this. But if you're not a manufacturer of cigars, CRA's it. That's where you. That's the only place you can join the fight.
Yeah.
Do you have a subscription service, so to speak, where you can sign up and say like you're donating $20 a month or something like that will automatically happen?
They're working on quite a few of those things because they were putting those together with the very similar to the way the NRA does on their legislative fund.
Right.
But yeah, I'm not sure if those are out yet.
But they're coming.
But yeah, they're working on all those elements. Harrison, who is the gentleman that's handling a lot of the administration at CRA, is a fine man. He and I smoke cigars when I go to D.C. I like hanging out with him just because he's a cool cigar guy.
Yeah.
But they're working on a lot of things. Our two lobbying guys this past year have been extremely busy,
Right.
Because they're trying to get into the new Congress. Let's go hit the people that we need to hit, but also the new administration.
Right.
What are we going to face?
And there'll be more turnover in the midterm elections coming up in about a year.
Yep.
So there's a lot that needs to be done. And I just want to encourage anybody that's listening that's a fan of cigars, think of your support for CRA as an investment in your future ability to buy cigars at a reasonable price. You know? It's Ian and I have talked about this. After going to Honduras and visiting the Aladino farm and factory, we're amazed that you can buy a cigar for under $20 anyway.
It's crazy how much work and effort goes into it.
To get it here. But what we really don't want is for a big chunk of that to be going to the government.
Right.
Because they don't have anything to do with making those cigars,
But they love to tax cigars. No one complains about taxing cigars to the point where it's almost unrealistic to smoke cigars. It's absolutely crazy.
I know we have listeners and viewers in New Mexico. New Mexico has proposed a state cigar tax that if it goes through, it's ridiculous. You're going to have to move. Like, seriously. It's
absolutely crazy. I can't believe they do that.
Top.
Cigar Rights of America is the only
only way you can get involved.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, it really is. So we encourage you to do that, and we will toast to you with this rum. And I just want to say, by the way, I have never smelled a rum that smells like this.
Buttered rum.
Yeah, it's just
caramel. This smells like
caramel.
I don't
get caramel. I'm getting like
butterscotch.
Yeah.
Sorry, I misspoke. I meant butterscotch.
Butterscotch, yeah.
Butterscotch.
That is it's like your grandma's butterscotch candy almost,
Yeah.
I don't know if it tastes like that, but
it's rum made by Werther's. Not really. This is made by. It also says single blended rum.
Wow. So, have you tasted this yet, Ian?
I want to point out that it says single blended, and then it has rum in quotation marks.
Well, that's interesting because I will tell you...
It's single blended, air quotes, rum.
I will tell you that it does not taste like rum to me.
It doesn't.
No, it almost tastes more like a whiskey.
Yeah.
Or some kind of whiskey blend. You remember we had the Jonathan Drew from Drew Estates got into the spirits business, and he came up with a bourbon and rum blend. It reminds me a little of that, actually. But it does not have that caramel and molasses and vanilla vibe that I'm so used to with rums. I mean, it has almost like the minerality of a scotch.
Yeah.
After you take a swallow, when the warm hug comes back and gets you can tell it was rum. The initial sip on this is almost like a liqueur, like a butterscotch liqueur. I bet you could make some pretty interesting cocktail with this if you like those darker flavors kind of thing. I also, it's interesting it says single blended because I think they're going with like when you see a single malt or that kind of thing. What basically what those terms generally mean is telling you it's coming from one distillery and then it's mash bill. So this is a blended mash bill, meaning from one rum distillery, a blended mash bill. That's interesting.
It really is, and it has some of the characteristics of a single malt scotch. The minerality, that sort of like taste on the finish that's got very much a mineral water type of a vibe to it. I like it, and it is actually surprisingly smooth because a lot of times when you get these bigger kind of whiskey-leaning rums, barrels comes to mind, for example. They are really, really good in many ways, but they're not necessarily smooth. They're big and they kind of punch you in the mouth. This is not like that. It's pretty smooth and easy drinking, but it is. It says is definitely a different kind of rum.
Aged in ex-bourbon barrels, it says a pure cane and molasses spirit with no added flavoring or coloring. So apparently there's something about the way they make this that they can't actually call it rum.
Which is why the quotation marks.
Which is why the quotation marks. And then down here it says a pure cane and molasses spirit.
Yeah.
And nowhere on here does it say hard and fast that it is actually rum. So
It is Uruapan Charanda Anejo. It is from Charanda, which is from Michoacá, Mexico. So it's that's the other thing is there's not a lot of rum from Mexico.
Well, and
it
if
has
you-
a tendency to come from the islands,
Right.
from places like St. Lucia and Jamaica and areas like that.
So this, if you made a traditional daiquiri, and I'm not talking about the frozen daiquiri machines on Bourbon Street, New Orleans. I mean, you made a traditional daiquiri, a shaken daiquiri. That right there would probably work well.
I'm guessing you're right. Yeah.
I'm going to tell you, I don't like it.
Yeah, I'm not.
I think I need it
crazy
to. I think
about
I need it to mix with something. That's what daiquiri hit my mind because
Right.
the
I agree.
lime, the lime with this flavor. If you just did a traditional lime daiquiri, shaken, not a frozen one, you use that, and I think
Right.
that right there would make that more drinkable to me.
It's very
I
interesting.
think it would make the flavor profile is interesting enough. I think that if you could use this as a mixer, and you could probably create some pretty awesome like daiquiris, like even banana flavor, I could see going with
Yeah.
this really well.
Oh yeah,
But I don't think I like it by itself.
My wife makes those bushwhackers.
Yeah, yeah.
It might be good in something like that, She's really good with those. She's kind of got it figured out. We came back from the Virgin Islands on a trip, and she's like, I think I can make those. And she went about kind of figuring it out. But really, really good, though.
I have to say that the heat doesn't stop once it
No,
comes
you're
back.
so right.
It just
kind of
sits
hangs
there.
with you. Yeah. so I would say if you're particularly if you're more into the traditional style and taste of rum, this may not be your rum. But if you're looking for something really different, give it a try.
It's definitely different.
It's definitely
And
different.
remember, it's not rum; it's rum.
Yes.
it's a sugarcane liquid.
It's a sugar cane and molasses spirit with no added flavor or color.
All right. So I'll tell you what, we got to do some drinking news, so we'll do that in our next segment. It is time for us to take a break. And ladies and gentlemen, we will be back with more Smoking and Toasting.
So I like the air quotes on that.
Yeah.
Podcast all about cigars and booze. Hanging out every week with Ian and Cruze. The spirit is discussed.
You probably just let that play, right?
In the beginning.
Welcome back. It is Smoking and Toasting. We are so thrilled to have you here for show number 268. We talked about the list of 24 Imperial Stouts. Now we will try a little something that's not an Imperial Stout. That's
Have you heard ZZ Top do 25 lighters?
Yes. It's great.
That's so good.
And that's from the, like, I call that the latter years of ZZ Top.
Yes.
So it's not from their early stuff that most people know. It's from the fact that they continued to make music after, they were no longer chart toppers. And it's pretty cool, actually.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
There's some real gems in there.
really-
Dig around.
It's kind of like, it's one of those things where, like, they've got their fan base and, they can sell out shows and all of that kind of stuff. Just because they're not necessarily getting on the radio anymore, they might as well make the music they want to make.
Oh, yeah.
And that's what made that album so good. So, well, welcome back to Smoking and Toasting. We are just about to get to drinking news, but first, for those of you, and I know we have quite an audience here in our hometown of Houston, Houston chef Chris Shepard and Eighth Wonder Brewery have teamed up. Eighth Wonder's one of our cool breweries that we have here.
They also have a distillery.
They have teamed up to create Hammer Down Bourbon, and it is about to hit. It is. It's a really interesting product because the sales are going to benefit Southern Smoke, which is a Houston-based nonprofit supporting the food and beverage industry. And, after so many things were shut down for COVID, supporting the food and beverage industry is kind of a big, big deal. So it is called Hammer Down. It is now available at Specs and Total Wine, and Specs Online lists the bourbon at $30. We'll have to get some of this and try it. So it's going to be very, very interesting. So it's described as a smooth blended bourbon with notes of caramel, sweet vanilla, honey, toasted butterscotch. Are we sure we didn't just have it? And a hint of cornflakes. It's blended, proofed, and bottled at Eighth Wonder using a Kentucky distilled bourbon. So anyway, just bragging on our homeboys here because it's fun seeing things happen in your town that are new and innovative, and I kind of dig it. Speaking of new and innovative, or the opposite of that, It's time for drinking news.
Drinking news, drinking news. Now it's time for drinking news, drinking news, drinking news. Now it's, oh, you haven't experienced this yet, have you?
Well, when I watch the show, I just look and pray that my name's not on drinking
Now
news.
it's time for drinking news. A Florida man with one arm said he had a gator for a pet. When asked about his absent arm, he said,
I had to take my gator to the vet.
drinking news, drinking news. Now it's time for drinking news.
Cheers, y'all. A reminder, as we do every time we present this, the drinking news is not only a popular segment here on the program, but it's where we present a story that is sometimes, but not always, about drinking. But it is always best to listen to or consume if you've been drinking. And certainly we have.
Yes, we have.
Especially thanks to that extra stout. So we live in a crazy world during interesting times, but there are some things in our universe that do, and ought to, remain consistent and sacred. You should have the right to remain silent and the right to an attorney if you're being arrested for suspicion of a crime, and to be innocent until proven guilty. You should be able to buy any beer that has Stone Brewing Company on the label and know that you are getting a carefully crafted quality product.
I like where you're going with this.
And for the sake of all that is holy, you should be able to enjoy your unlimited mashed potatoes, pot roast, chicken wings, and that oh-so-yummy soft-serve ice cream for dessert at your local Golden Corral without having to worry about some unwashed jackanape throwing a high chair at you.
I hate getting high chairs thrown at me.
But diners at a Golden Corral in Bensalem, Pennsylvania were denied that right this week when what has been described in the media as a, quote, massive brawl, end quote, broke out in the buffet line. This is one of those things that's funny. It doesn't need a punchline. It's just funny. It's just funny all by itself.
A brawl in the buffet
A brawl
line.
in the buffet.
That's
at
a
the Golden
specific.
Corral.
That's a specific kind of a specific segment of society.
You're
I think
100% right.
and not the buffet line thing, but the brawlers in the buffet line is definitely its own segment of society.
Well, according to eyewitnesses, a Golden Corral employee, we'll call them wranglers just for fun, since it's a corral, right? When a Golden Corral wrangler informed the people in line for the buffet of steamed, stewed, and deep-fried menu selections that because of supply issues, the few pieces of sirloin steak that remained in the buffet would be the last ones for the day. After that,
Oh mercy!
they were all out.
You should never announce that until they're all gone.
As you can imagine, this caused a bit of concern among those waiting in line, particularly those who craved a fine steak, or barring that, one of the steaks from Golden Corral.
By golly gosh, they paid for it with their $20.
Apparently, one hungry sirloin lover attempted to cut the line to make sure that he would have a shot at one of those last few steaks, which, as you can imagine, was not well received by the others who were patiently waiting. Pushing, as it often does, became shoving, and in just a few seconds, a full-fledged Golden Corral melee broke out that put the fistfights among the crew of Cowboys on Yellowstone to shame.
Holy stuffed potato, Batman!
Punches were thrown, high chairs were tossed, and the resulting brawl was caught on video, because of course it was, and that clip has now gone viral.
Nice.
We do have a still of it here, I think, if Adam can put it up. And Josh, if you're listening, it shows a bunch of people fighting at a Golden Corral in Pennsylvania.
So it shows a Golden Corral.
Yeah, right.
Pennsylvania.
Police confirmed that the massive fight involved more than 40 people. But thankfully, no one was seriously injured enough to require hospitalization. In the video, which you must go and watch, by the way,
Oh, yeah, that'll be a priority today.
one man can be heard saying, "All I wanted was some steak."
Of course.
Bensalem authorities say the incident is still under investigation and that the person who started the fight could be facing several charges, including simple assault. What we can learn from this should be rather obvious, my friends. First, thanks to the virus and to the political climate in the world these days, people are wound pretty tight. It's not a good time to cut in line. And at a Golden Corral, I wouldn't want to take a chance on whether the angry guy I cut in front of was or wasn't the proud owner of a concealed carry permit. I mean, these things happen, right? Secondly, the GC, as I like to call it, is a family restaurant. There are kids there. They don't need to see adults behaving in such a shameful manner, and they could be in serious danger when the high chairs start to fly.
You want to see kids act like that?
Yeah.
Go to a CC's.
Exactly. But Golden Corral should be somewhat sacred.
If you've ever had lunch at CC's, you know exactly what I'm talking about.
And finally, and I can't stress this enough, the steak in question is from the Golden fucking Corral.
Thank you for finally saying it.
The GFC, if you please. I've had the sirloin steak there. It's not good. I mean, if you're going to get in a fight over a steak, for God's sake, at least go to Morton's or the Palm or somewhere. It's just not worth getting your head bashed in by a flying high chair at the GFC. It's just not. At least go somewhere nice if you're going to wind up being the star of a viral video and millions of people around the world are going to hear you say,
All I wanted was some steak.
that's good advice. And that is your
Drinking news. That's our time for drinking news.
All right.
Shaw.
As a guy that travels for a living,
Yeah.
I admit I have eaten at a Golden Corral because you pull into a small town.
Oh, yeah.
That may be the only restaurant other than a McDonald's or something else, right?
And you may
And
wanna
if you're
sit
in a
down.
hurry, the food is already ready.
Right, exactly.
I get it.
I
I'm
have
not
eaten
hating.
at Golden Corral.
And if you're super hungry, there's a lot of it.
Right.
I used to live in Liberty. I've eaten at Golden Corral.
Absolutely. Now, the funny part to me is getting a steak, not my top priority.
No.
The
not at Golden
meatloaf,
Corral.
when they have the meatloaf, is
Yeah.
fantastic.
And the chicken's pretty good.
And the chicken's good. I mean, there's a lot of other things you can eat that are better than the sirloin.
Let me be honest about Golden Corral steak because I'll admit I've eaten at Golden Corral.
Yeah.
I usually don't get the steak.
No.
Exactly.
Because it's just not a good steak.
Yeah. And yet,
And like I said, there are so many better things
yeah.
that you can have at Golden Corral.
And yet, millions upon millions of people have now heard that man say,
All I wanted was some steak.
so there you have it, and there you are.
All right.
That's your drinking
We're
news.
going in.
I was going to say, I got so excited during drinking news, I actually spilled a little bit of my rum. So I need something else to. We were talking about spills. I need something else to drink here. Have we got enough cups? We good?
Oh, we're plenty.
All right, good.
Matter of fact, we got one left over.
All right, very good. So this is the Belching Beaver. It's a peanut butter milk stout. All right.
Yes.
Good. I'm very curious because we liked that other stout so much. I'm very curious to see how the next one will stack up.
I have had this stout before.
Okay.
And I will tell you, well, I'll just let you try it first and see.
Well, you can get a little of the peanut butter on the nose for sure. Mm-hmm.
I'm interested to see what you think of it. I think the last time I had this was actually at Alan's house, maybe.
I like this a lot better than the peanut butter whiskey that Dave Grohl is so fond of.
Man, that peanut butter whiskey is not good.
Dave Grohl
We were
loves it so
trying to be
much. I saw
so
him talking
nice.
about it. He loved it.
They sent it to us. We were trying to be so nice. We're like, well, maybe we can mix it with something.
Chocolate milk.
I actually really like this. It's
I want to follow up the peanut butter whiskey thing. So hold that thought.
okay.
I had that peanut butter whiskey for years in my house. Mm-hmm. I finally took it over to a friend's house because all of his friends are Renaissance Festival carnies.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they're all Renfest people, right? I figured surely he can get rid of this, and they won't even drink this stuff.
He said, "We don't want this, and don't call me Shirley."
He still has some left at his house. I'm sorry. Go ahead. Tell me about Belching Beaver now.
I like this. This, you know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of a Nutter Butter. You
This
know
is-
the cream inside the Nutter Butter cookie?
Yes. This is incredible. Can you imagine having this with those shortbread Girl Scout cookies?
Ooh, yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
I would
That's
even dip.
good.
I
That's
think I
good.
would dip.
If they were out of this at the Golden Corral, I could see fights breaking out. I really could.
If they had this at the Golden Corral,
yeah, exactly.
I would eat there more often.
Yeah, that's true.
No, I think this is quite delicious. Now, I'm not sure I would want like several of these in a row. I think it's more like a specialized enjoy the one and really savor the flavors of it. But the peanut butter flavor is so pronounced, and it's blended really well. This is very
well
stout.
balanced
Yes.
for having that much of the flavor forward.
And for being a Belching Beaver product.
And this is 5.3% alcohol. This is not huge. America's favorite peanut butter milk stout. Troy came up with the idea of combining peanut butter with our Beaver's milk stout, and he nailed it. Don't let the dark color fool you. This beer is delightfully easy to drink with cascading aromas of roasted peanuts, dark chocolate, and coffee. There's a lot of compression on this microphone because every time I take a breath, I sound like Tori Amos. Anyway,
That's a great reference, by the way.
good times to you. Why does that pop into my head?
I don't know. Tor.
See, there it goes again. Dark chocolate and coffee. Good times to you, my friend, and welcome to the Beaver family. Cheers, Tom. This is a good stout.
Yeah, it is.
It's good. It's different. It's fun. I don't know. Like, I could drink a can of this. I could drink a glass of this myself. I don't think I could go too far past that. Like after I had this, but then again, I'm like that anyway. I always like different flavors, so I want to try something different.
Even if you're drinking something you really, really love, it's fun to
Absolutely,
change up.
yeah. I like in a night's drinking. If I have beer during the night and I have a choice, I'm probably, if I drink 6 beers, I'm probably going to maybe only 2 of them will be the same one.
Well, you and I went over to Eighth Wonder recently and did the thing where you get 3 beers. Like you pay your amount and then you get your glass.
You get a beer
and
and 2 tokens. Yeah,
right. So neither of us got the same beer twice.
No.
You know, it's just not what you do. You're trying to. They've got a great menu there. They brew excellent beer, and it was fun to. What was that red beer that we had there?
There was a barrel-aged red ale, I think is what it was. Whatever it was, it was really good.
Yeah. Man. I haven't seen
Their
that.
Cougar Paw.
It's a
their
good
red
red,
ale is fantastic.
It really is.
Go Cougs.
It's actually one of my favorite of their whole beer line.
Yeah, man. Eighth Wonder. An absolute staple in my fridge is their Tex beer. Have you had that?
It's just a good, easy lager. Yeah. It really is. I'm thrilled that, as much as I love IPAs, I'm thrilled that as the IPA craze kind of cooled down a little bit, that the next thing that a lot of breweries went into was trying to make really good pilsners and lagers.
Right.
And some of them have been just exceptional. Just exceptional. We've had several on the show that we've gone absolutely nuts
the
for.
Scout Mexican lager from True Anomaly, Tex.
No, Scout is from. Which is the one?
True Anomaly was Scout.
Which is the one from No Label?
No Label. They're 1980.
Yes, that Kolsch.
I like that Kolsch.
fantastic.
Oh, that is a Kolsch. What is it? They have a lager too. They
Yes,
have that's not Calaveras. That's
No, see, we're getting.
yes, but
I can see the
I'm
cans in
blanking on it, right.
in my name. But there's been a lot of great ones come out this year.
I love that you can get those more lighter styles now out of craft beers. That just makes me happy. You get great Kolsch from most places now.
When craft beer first came onto the scene, it was predominantly making styles that you couldn't get from the big beer companies.
I mean, you couldn't get an IPA if it wasn't a craft beer.
Well,
it didn't
exactly.
exist.
Yeah, there was no Budweiser IPA.
Nope.
And that's still the case, thankfully,
there's
because
many
it
of
would
them.
be. Oh,
Well, they own tons of them.
Well, it's because they bought them, though, not because they brewed them themselves.
Weren't we just talking about Hopadillo earlier?
Yeah.
Budweiser IPA.
But Hopadillo is way better than if the brewmaster at Budweiser had brewed a Budweiser IPA.
Well, then he would lose
he would lose the competition.
because it wouldn't be the most Budweiser.
Oh, that's so crazy. You've got to King of Beer.
Have you heard about this?
It's
this competition.
If you have Amazon Prime,
documentary.
There's a documentary on there called King of Beer, and what it's about, and it's like a reality documentary.
It's an in-house Budweiser documentary,
and they do a contest every year where the brewmasters at all of their breweries around the world. Because they have, a couple here in the U.S. and they have ones in the U.K. and they have one in China, and they all get together for a competition to try to brew the most Budweiser they can brew. So they enter their breweries Budweiser into this competition, and it's a big deal. I mean, they get totally, you would think it was like they were on Survivor or something. They get so worked up about trying to win this competition, and it's such a big deal internally.
It's not a competition to make good beer.
Right, it's not who can make
It's
a
not
great
like-
new beer.
No,
It's
it's
not
who can make the best Budweiser.
Right, who can make the most
Who
consistently.
judges that? Joe the plumber? I'm sorry, I don't know who judges that. Man, I'm not downing plumbers. I'm just like, who judges that?
That was a Joe the Plumber reference. We haven't heard from him in 20 years now. No, but seriously, the I guess big execs at Budweiser, do all of the tastings, and they're really the amount of meticulousness they put into this blows my mind. It's like, people, use your powers for good,
Like they could have brewed something interesting.
Right. It could have been who could come up with the best. If I were running Budweiser, which thank God I'm not, although I'd be rich beyond my wildest dreams, maybe I wouldn't.
That's
care.
like giving. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
If I were running Budweiser, I'd say to the brewmasters, okay, this year we're going to do a pale ale. Brew the best pale ale you can bring it together, and we'll announce a winner, and the winner will release for a limited time.
No, that would inspire creativity.
Right.
What we're
don't want
actually
creativity.
doing
Is inspiring
we're bringing
uniformity.
everybody together. Listen, everyone gets one piece of toast and one piece of cheese. Who can make the best cheese toast? You get one piece of toast, one piece of cheese, and one oven. Go.
That is such a
And
great example.
The same bread and the same cheese, because you
Right.
can't mix that up.
Right.
No, it came out of, and specifically just the middle of this
Right.
loaf of bread, so there's no variation.
And it isn't real cheese; it's that American cheese food stuff.
That's right.
So you're gonna have to-
Processed,
you're gonna have to-
pasteurized
you're
American
gonna
cheese
have to
food.
deal with that as well, my friends. So sorry about that. Anyway, it's definitely worth watching.
Why does Budweiser make it so easy to make fun of them?
They really do? I mean, and even when it comes down to their advertising, remember the whole dilly dilly thing?
The bully campaign?
Yeah, it's they just go right at it, and they've
For the
had,
many.
Yeah,
It's
they've
for the many.
had historically some good advertising campaigns, but it's
Excuse
been
me,
a while.
Chris, can I be just like you?
Yeah, please be just like me.
Can I be
You
just
need
like
to like
everybody?
exactly the same
It's for the
beers
many.
that I like. It's for the many. Yeah.
I want to be just like everybody else.
Think how boring the show would be if you and I agreed on everything. We probably agree on too much as it is.
I just think of Star Trek. It's let's assimilate to the Borg, and
Yeah, right.
we're all
That's
good.
exactly.
It's Borg beer.
Borg beer.
We are
gonna assimilate.
Budweiser. You will service us.
All your beers are belong to us.
That's right.
Remember that shirt? That was from the
That's from
farm boy up in the Heights. They had a shirt that had
Yeah.
all your beers
All your
are belong
beers
to
belong
us.
to us. That's so great. That's so great. Well, all right, we need to take a break, and we'll come back to wrap up the show. Trey Boring has been our guest today. So nice to have you on the program. It's been too long.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Let's not wait this long to do it again, because you're kind of fun to hang and drink with, You're good like that.
Thank you.
We'll take a break. We'll be right back to wrap things up. It is Smoking and Toasting, all about craft beer, fine spirits, and hand-rolled cigars.
Good things.
Welcome back. It is Smoking and Toasting, the radio program and podcast and video extravaganza that is all about craft beer, fine spirits, and hand-rolled cigars. Trey Boring, of all the people that I know personally, you are probably the best crusader and ambassador for the cigar industry because of what you do with Cigar Rights of America and what you do with Cigars for Warriors. It's just such a cool thing to find somebody who doesn't just talk about, oh, we ought to do something, but
No,
actually
you were
does
the
something.
active one.
Right. You get involved and do things. And you were telling us during the break about some cool things that you've got going on with Cigars for Warriors.
You bet. So, as we mentioned earlier, the FDA has forbidden manufacturers from donating
From
cigars.
actually giving you cigars.
Yeah, just giving us cigars. But what we've done is, over the last year, we have developed a lot of partnerships with manufacturers, and they're trying to figure out ways to continue to support Cigars for Warriors without violating the FDA rules. And so one of the things is what we call the Synergy Program. Hiram and Solomon Cigars, which is a great boutique cigar manufacturer, they already do a lot of charity work with the Masonic lodges and things of that nature. They created the very first Cigars for Warriors branded cigar. It's
That's
called
nice.
Live. It's called Live to Serve under the Synergy program, and they released it. Produced 1,000 boxes. It's a very limited run cigar. Now, Eddie and the folks over at Hiram and Solomon blended it so that it's an everyman cigar.
Right.
You're not going to find it too
there's
soft.
nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, you're not going to find it too soft. You're not going to find it too strong. It's just a very good cigar. And they presented us at TPE just last week, which is the Tobacco Plus Expo. It's one of the trade shows the manufacturers go to. We go to as Cigars for Warriors. And they presented us with a $10,000 check, which is the first proceeds.
The proceeds from the
From
sale,
the sale of those cigars.
That's so cool.
Awesome. Are
That is
those
so
still
cool.
available? Where can we go to
You
find
can
those?
find them around. If you look at the Hiram and Solomon, they'll tell you the shops. All
Okay.
these cigars are sold through our donation centers.
Okay,
so if you
great.
go to our donation centers, if you go to those stores,
Smoke Ring will
Smoke
have it,
Ring, and,
places like that.
and if they don't have it, they can order you a box.
Okay.
So they're coming to the end of that production run. Caldwell's came out. It's part of his Mad Mofo line.
I love Caldwell stuff.
Well, he's got a CFW one that's under the Mad Mofo line. The problem is his shipping in, he only got 500 of his 1,000 boxes, and those were gone in 5 minutes.
Instantly.
Yeah.
And so the next 500 are supposed to come in the spring. But those are the two that
all
are out right now.
supply chain stuff,
Yeah,
right?
supply chain, which is what I do for a living. So obviously Robert was going, fix it, Trey. But the funny part is that we also have supply chain issues kind of impacting some of these start dates. But Oscar is going to do CFW by Oscar.
I'm a big
That's
fan
great.
of Oscar.
You are an Oscar
Valdez.
Valdez.
And
Man,
so
this stuff's so good.
same principle. It's going to be a limited run, about 1,000 boxes. Again, all the wholesale profits go to us.
great.
Retailers are still making their money on that, but the retailers that can have it are only our donation centers. We've got Cretec, which is a very big tobacco company. They own people like Phillips and King. They own the TPE show. They own a lot of different things. But they have a Slaughterhouse cigar, which is a bundle cigar.
Okay.
And it's only sold in bundles. Well, they've got a Slaughterhouse variant called the Operator, and that's going to be CFW branded. It's going to be sold in bundles only, but it's a reasonably priced cigar. The bundles are going to be less than, $60.
Oh, nice.
And so you'll see, we'll probably be at, a shop. We got a lot of shops talking about doing donation parties with those, right?
Nice.
Buying extra bundles because for $100 you can keep a bundle and donate a bundle.
Right,
Oh, that's awesome.
And so we're going to talk about doing things like that. But their cigars coming out, and then Cavalier. If you're familiar with Cavalier,
Cavalier Geneva,
wonderful boutique. Sebastian is working on a blend for us right now. He, like Oscar and everybody else, it's all tobacco supply chains. But Cavalier will also be coming out this year with a CFW branded cigar.
Awesome.
All of these manufacturers donating the profits to CFW, which helps our bottom line. I mean, $10,000 is a lot of money. Imagine that multiplied by 5, and they sell all the cigars, and that's just money that helps us follow through with the charity's mission.
Well, if you are shopping at a cigar shop that has one of the donation boxes, first of all, thank them. Thank them for doing that, because it's really cool of them to be a part of the program and to have it there and encourage people to do it. And secondly, get an extra cigar or two. Toss it in there.
Toss it in.
You don't have to get a Padron Anniversario or something that costs $20. Just buy a couple of good quality cigars and toss them in there.
We had a whole list of those earlier.
It's exactly right. Those are all suggested retail $6 or under, and I guarantee you the servicemen and women would be thrilled to get any of those cigars because they're all highly rated and would work really, really well. Well, Trey, thank you so much for coming on the show today.
Appreciate the time.
We always appreciate having you on. Ahead in the next couple of weeks for Smoking and Toasting, next week is our Valentine's Day show. Be our last show before Valentine's Day, and our Smoking and Toasting wine expert Mark Burrell will be joining us to suggest wines for your Valentine's Day dinner or party or romantic interlude or whatever you have planned for Valentine's
I think
Day.
I need to text him. We're going to go see him on Friday.
Oh, are you doing a little Valentine's dinner with the missus?
Pre-Valentine.
I like it. I absolutely like it. And then coming up on the 17th, Peter Clifton, another of our cocktail experts, will be joining us here. He made such amazing drinks the last time he was here.
That was such a
I can't wait to see what he has in mind. And then on the 24th, the last Thursday of this month, Jordan Davis will be joining us from Heaven's Door, which is the Bob Dylan whiskey company. And trust me, folks, this whiskey is not just some celebrity pet project. It's actually really good.
Yeah, it's really good whiskey.
We'll be looking forward to that as well. So thank you all for being here and being a part of our fun little program today. Thank you to Adam on the Wheels of Steel. And thank you, Ian. I don't thank you enough. Thanks for being here.
Thank you, Cruze.
I appreciate it. It's a lot of fun doing this with you. We will see you again next week. Have a wonderful week, my friends. And until we meet again for show number 269, cheers, y'all.
Cheers, y'all.
I drank all my stout.